Okay, y'all, happy Friday. It is another Friday, y'all. I'm back. Last week was supposed to be the last one in this series, but I don't know what was going on with the net, but it wasn't netting. And I don't know, it just looked funny. It just was not good quality. So I decided to just start over, redo everything. And I'm kind of happy I did. Um, because some of the things that I found between last week and this week will absolutely blow your mind. So I actually was going to get into more um, of unpacking all of the literature that I found, but I'm going to go a different route. And it still pertains to the sexual objectification, liberation, what all of that means, freedom to do whatever it is that you want to do, right? Um, we covered all that. We know all of that, right? We know that there is a very fine line between being exploited and exploiting yourself. Um, However, there's always an argument of how far is too far. So, getting into that, I don't want to continue to repeat myself. However, I am going to continue to repeat myself when I talk about the history of how we got here and why we're still here today, right? So, I am just the messenger. Don't kill the messenger, and you do what you want to do with the message. But this is what it is. We talked about Sarah Botman and how she was on display. She was called a freak show. They took her from Africa. They took her to Europe, put her in a circus, and rich white men came and paid money to see her and look at her. Um, we have talked about the root of slavery as far as Jezebel and what and who she represents. She is the hypersexual being um, that was depicted from slavery by white men. And of course, this is the stereotype that women carry. However, is it a stereotype that black women carry, or is it something that was actually embedded in us because of the root cause of slavery, right? Because we can't say that we just woke up like this, right? Because we think about um, the slave masters on how they would. I don't know how much I can say before I get like banned, but if I do, whatever. Um, of how white men would rape and beat black women. And, there's a known fact of that. But this is an article, y'all. I really want to get into this article. And this is the only article that I'm going to really get into tonight because I believe this actually wraps up everything that I've been talking about, all of the research, all of the literature, and just to continue the research from this point on. So I was actually scrolling, and the the caption is what kind of caught me. It is searching for climax. Okay. Black erotic lives in slavery and freedom. I don't know how sexy that sounds, but okay, let's continue to read, right? So it says apparently, so in August of 2013, it was a newly launched YouTube channel, All Deaf Digital, and they posted an entitled video called The Harriet Tubman Sex Tape. Why is this problematic? Well, for instance, I mean, like, let's start by using common sense and saying that is just totally disrespectful and inappropriate as it pertains to Black women and how Black women are viewed. We learned that in the Black feminist theory that was coined by Patricia Hill Collins when she flat out said that Black women are often objectified by the white elitist men, right? She said it flat out verbatim. This is not a paraphrase, this is her actual words. So, um, in this sex tape, um, it apparently it had Harriet Tubman in sexual positions, and she was actually performing sex acts on the plantation, on a white plantation. And I want to kind of think about in 2013 why and how was this even appropriate? And just to think about the industry that we're in today, right? Think about where we're at today with music, with the media, and how we all know that sex sells. And when you look at the music industry and how producers in the industry are making money off of black bodies and the Megan Thee Stallions, the Cardi B, right? I remember some years ago when oh God, I think Cardi B, she did, I don't know if it was an interview, I think it was a TikTok. I don't know. There's no telling where I've seen this with Cardi B, but I do remember her saying that um in her first album, she tried to talk about sensible things and, be careful with me and, you know, talking about her life and just being soft, but yet saying like who she is and where she came from. However, she said, unless I'm talking about my puss, no one cares, right? So this is when she kind of flipped the script and started, becoming, I'm not gonna say vulgar, but she began becoming more explicit, I should say, in her delivery as it pertains to her music, um, the videos, and everything around it. We look at other artists, let's say Glorilla, right? She was hot 2 years ago. Like, we're not even going to talk about the beef between her and Megan. I think that's a whole nother conversation. But if you think about it, Glorilla came on the scene, um, and she had her own unique style. She was good, right? She was welcomed by the industry. She was loved, but she wasn't sexy enough, right? So what did she do? She went and she bought some boobs. She had to get a breast job. Um, she had to work on her body in the gym. She did the glow challenge, where she said, I want my girls to get in the gym. We're going to work on our bodies. Why? Because your body is going to make money. So you think about how how the music industry looks at and perceives let me see. Do I have anybody watching? I forgot to say that. If anybody got any questions, I want you to tap in and ask those questions. My bad. I should have said that in the beginning. But um again, looking at the entire industry as a whole, whether it's the media, whether it's the sex industry, um, it's all a form of exploitation, objectification, and exactly how we got to the point that we're here today. And it's because it's rooted in slavery. It is because of, shout out to Dr. Joy DeGrow, and when she talked about epigenetics and she went into the post traumatic slave syndrome, right? Where she says that our behavior is rooted um, through ancestral genes, right? So our DNA, it doesn't change, but it alters over time through generations. So we will begin to actually look at how how is our behavior really shaped by our ancestors, right? So do we wake up and we choose to be the women that we are? Do we choose to be liberated? Do we choose to be free? Um, do we do we accept being exploited? Do we decide to be low key, right? Who are we as women? And what do we do with our bodies? How do we how do we police our bodies? What is the media saying? What is the world saying? What is the right thing to do? What is the wrong thing to do, right? There's no answer. We can have this discussion forever until the end of time, because guess what? This conversation started in the beginning of time with with um with other scholars, I should say. Again, Patricia Hill Collins is, I can't say she's one of my favorite. Just going into the whole Black feminist thought. Um, Dr. Joy DeGruy. Again, you get into the science of everything, right? Because I don't know if people really understand how genetics and gene does carry on from generation to generation. How we talking about the generational trauma. So if we can have generational trauma from what happened 2 generations ago, why can't we have trauma from 100 years ago? I believe that everything that's embedded within us has come from something. This is a learned behavior, a form of modeling that we will get into later. Again, y'all, my bad. This will actually be the final show, at least for this series, for the Schoolgirl Edition. We will continue to have this conversation because I do believe that it does involve more study and more research, more conversation just around this topic, just to be able to say, who are you as a woman? How do you see yourself in the world? Where are you in the world? Um, because often we don't know. We just go about our lives. We do what we're told to do. We set our life based on what society says do, and we live up to societal standards. But my question is, what is societal standards? No one knows. If we continue to say societal standards, then we're living off of patriarchy, and we are allowing misogyny to come into our lives and to take over. Um, but again, I want to read a little more of this essay, and it's it was actually a network by Russell Simmons. He actually founded All Deaf Digital as a space for showcasing the best comedy, music, and animation. So, not only was this sex tape of Harriet Tubman inappropriate, but it was supposed to be funny. And it was actually produced by a black man who's apparently following white supremacy, because this is what it is. This is straight up white supremacy. When you see another man I'm sorry, a black man following behind the white man thoughts of saying, I am going to explicitly exploit my black woman. But of course, after, let me see, what do it says? Well, of course, people didn't like it, which good for them. So he issued an apology. But my thing is, sir, it shouldn't have been no apology that needed to be given. Because at what point, one, would you think, who idea was this? Who idea was it to produce a sex tape of Harriet Tubman, knowing the history, knowing um, the trauma, that Black women carry? Whose idea was that? And then to think it was funny. It was supposed to be a ha ha joke. But again, like I said, it received a lot of backlash and criticism. Um, and it said they had Harriet Tubman as a sassy, full bodied, black skinned woman. So she was thick. She was thick, probably representing the image of what Sarah Barton was um, when they had her in Europe. Um, Let me see. Of course, and this actually, what I've already said it, but I'm going to read it. And it talks about the Jezebel circulated among the digital shorts. Let me see. As they so to locate the representation of Harriet Tubman within the subordinates, the context of what Patricia Collins um, has identified as a controlling image. On the whole, critics, let me see, yeah, they didn't find any type of humor in this whatsoever. But his statement, um, it said that it actually, oh, okay, trigger warning. So apparently, in this video, not only was she performing sex acts, but it appears as though the way I'm understanding it is saying that it was the light of perversion and it portrayed sexual violence against Black women in this video. Now, mind you, this video was 3 minutes and 30 seconds of foolery. The realities of sexual violence against enslaved Black women, violence that included forced breeding, rape, and sexual assault by slave owners. Um, and it is the notion that sex could exist as a liberatory tool or as an act or resistance for enslaved Black women. um, I don't have too many words for this. Like when I think about, again, Black women just not being protected, being subjected to violence, being um not believe when violence happened to us, exploited, disrespected, not protected by society, by white supremacy. White women don't respect us. Black men don't respect us. Yet Black women are expected to be able to do it all. So if you think about the actual stereotypes of the world, and how we really got to this point, we really can say that liberation is freedom. I don't think liberation is freedom. Now that I really think about it, you have free will. You have the option to do whatever it is that you want to do with your body or not. However, again, just understanding the consequences behind everything that you do is the most important thing. To think about the physical and the mental health of black women that experience this level of trauma is unacceptable. So what do we do? What is the next step? How do we collectively as black women demand respect? How do us as black women collectively stop the exploitation? Does liberation stop or self objectification? Because the terminology is was actually interesting. And I don't really think this is a matter of perception either, you know? Now that I think about it. Mm. Yet, every day, black women, we fall into this narrative and we fall into the stereotype of how black women have been portrayed and perceived since the beginning of time. It's definitely exploitation because this line reads, capitalizing on what the digital short identifiers as the master's desires for fictional Harriet Tubman. The video almost misses another opportunity, a moment to situate the desire and yearning in its relationship to power. And we also look at our society as white men, I'm sorry, straight white men. Let me get it together. Straight white men um, having the power in America. But yet, again, I will do my very best to see if I can actually get this in some type of PDF form and post it because again, this was written in 2013, yet we are still seeing this now, today, whether it's in the media, in our music, social media, magazines, everywhere you go. You're seeing and you're witnessing hypersexuality as it relates to Black women. Whether that's her goal or not. So, again, y'all, if you have any questions, y'all, and I missed something, you want to add to this collective work, please hit me up at info@ivnicole.com. I want to continue to have this conversation. I want to continue the research on who the Black woman is and what she represents in this world. Where does she see herself in the world? And why? So hit me up, y'all. This was the end of my senior project. So again, y'all, thank you for rocking with me. I'll see y'all after graduation.